I'm Carla Broadus, the Director of African American Studies, University of Texas at San Antonio. It is a true welcome to have you here celebrating at UTSA our 4th UTSA MLK Day. So thank you for joining us. Birds up. The joy of putting together today's event and the march has been several departments joined together to collaborate, to put these events on together, to show how working together we can tackle almost anything. So I want to start off with a thank you to the President's Office. Needless to say, the African American Studies program, Student Life, Staff Council, Academic Affairs, OIT, the Music Department, and our new department with Dr. Anderson, our Inclusion. All of these departments together saw to it that we were marching down MLK Boulevard for the parade event. And I have to tell you, the young man that you saw really getting us all UTSA, he's not even one of our students. So we just had to embrace him, and we told him, because the year before, Dr. Amy was the one making sure that we were all screaming UTSA. But this year, he decided to do so, and I guess he was competing with Dr. Amy, so we really had the UTSA going. I told him, whether you like it or not, you belong to us, and we're going to get you here at UTSA doing this for us. So I want to thank everybody that marched and made that day a success, and everyone that made today a success. I have to tell you all that this day means a lot to me. And I got really inspired last night in a whole nother way. And the two gentlemen that made me start thinking about how I was feeling had no idea that sitting amongst them, that they had no idea that this was going on in my head. I was looking at two successful, young, black, male leaders. And I was thinking, I'm old enough to be their mother. And they gave me the right to think, okay, so when I was tearing up the streets in 1968, 69, when I couldn't even get the top of my cap and gown on in 72 because my afro was too big, they gave me a reason to feel that I was doing it for a purpose, because it was inspiring other young people to get out here and lead the way. So I am proud of that. And I want to inspire the rest of you, young people. Be leaders. That's what we need. This is an academic institution. Our job is to prepare you to lead America. And that's what I want you to do. Research, lead, communicate, social justice, everything that will make our human race thrive. So that's my request of you. Enjoy our program today. I know that you are going to make UTSA proud. To assist us in making UTSA proud, we've got the Women's Choir. The UTSA Women's Choir wants to inspire you. And I know that they're going to do it.
Whence comes afternoon. That was rousing, soaring, and special. We are so gifted and lucky to have a wonderful music program. Thank you, Women's Choir, for all of your excellence. We appreciate you. Speaking of excellence, Carla and colleagues have worked so hard to realize our big day for our march here in San Antonio and to have today come together. So if you were involved in any way with Carla and team in bringing together our day of march and today's activities, would you stand, please? If you were involved with that, please stand. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Much, much appreciated. You know, today is a special day. It's a celebratory day. And I'm an optimist, and I believe in the future, our future, and it's a bright one. But I won't mince words at all. We have challenges here in our community and here in our institution. We have a culture to change. We have to own that culture. It's something that we have to do collectively. It can't land on my shoulders or Myron's shoulders or Kimberly's shoulders or Carla's shoulders. It's something that we as a community have to embrace, this notion of inclusive excellence. Obviously, Myron being here. Myron, will you stand up for a second? We want to give Myron a shout out. Obviously, it's a start, but it's going to take all of us owning our part in making this place an exemplary place. We have destinations that we're going to as a great public research university, but foundational to all of that, foundational to student success, foundational to being a discovery and knowledge enterprise, foundational to be a learning enterprise, and foundational to being the best enterprise we can be is this notion that we will be a diverse and inclusive institution, an exemplary institution. And it's going to take all of us. And today is just a reminder of our journey. And we can stand on the shoulders of giants, especially Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in this cause. And we're going to need his guidance. And I know that Dr. Kimbrough is going to be telling a fabulous story about Dr. King, about his time in 1964 in Berlin, Germany, guest of Willy Brandt, then the mayor and soon to be the president of Germany. And I don't want to go into that because I think Walter's going to tell a wonderful story. And there are some pretty famous quotes that came out of that visit by Dr. King, but I wanted to turn to his wisdom for us and our journey and the place that we have to go. And here are some things that Dr. King wrote about when he was only 18 years old. 18. I think he might have been a freshman at Morehouse at the time. He was writing on the purpose of education, and he wrote this for the student newspaper. He said these two things in his missive. And I think they're very apropos to us and our journey and our purpose. They're these. First, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. And then later in his missive, he said this: intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. And if we think about where we're going on our journey, where we have to end up, we will actually probably always be on this journey of continuous improvement and owning this, but we think about it and we take this back to our purpose as a university, a discovery enterprise, a learning enterprise, a preparing future leaders enterprise. These words will hold us in good stead as we think about our future. So I obviously, we're celebrating today, and I don't want to be too somber, but I want to call us out on the fact that this is what we have to do and where we have to go. So if you're willing, I'm willing. Thanks for being here today. Dr. Kelly Nash will be coming up in a moment to introduce our speaker, Dr. Kimbrough. Dr. Kimbrough is a remarkable thought leader in higher education, and we're so fortunate to have him with us today. You can also check out, he was on a podcast on his use of social media, and he's actually referred to, and he's quite famous in this within the presidential ranks. He puts everybody to shame in the social media world. He takes his thought leadership and shares it widely through that space. So we're very fortunate to have him here as an intellect, as a thought leader, as a change agent. and as a mentor to many. And it's also important that he mentors young people at the same time through his use of social media. Before diving into this further, I thought I would take a moment to celebrate a little bit about where we're going as an institution. So I have a special announcement to make that's apropos relative to our celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Today, we are announcing the creation of the Race, Ethnicity, Gender, and Sexuality Studies Department. This is something that's been long in planning. It started with a committee of the provost, then Provost Agrawal, the Diversity and Inclusion Advisory Committees, working towards bringing this to fruition. It had to go through our process, it had to go to UT system, and then had to go to the coordinating board, and we are now free to launch this brand new department that's going to reside in the College of Education and Human Development. It's going to bring together 3 of our academic programs: African American Studies, Mexican American Studies, and Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies. Creating this structure and this academic home is going to be very critical for our role and development of our leaders of the future. And it's a very proud moment in the history of this institution that we're doing this. One of the things that I think is really important is that we are going to be conducting national searches for faculty and endowed chairs for all 3 of these programs. So we're intending to put resources behind this new department and to have this department thrive as one of our core institutions for where we're going as an enterprise. And Dr. King spoke about this in some ways, and I won't get the quote exact, but it's important to have ideas and to be creative and to bring ideas forward, but it's another matter altogether to act on them and get them done, have them realized. And this, along with our faculty hiring program that we just announced through the Provost's office, speak to our desire to really tackle this issue of making sure that our faculty look like our students, our faculty can be mentors for our students, and our faculty can help shape us as a university as we go forward. So I'm excited about this new department, and I'm excited about the Provost's strategic hiring plan for many components of what we do, but especially for diversity and inclusion. What I'd like to really do is get on with hearing from Dr. Kimbrough, and what I need to do beforehand is introduce Dr. Kelly Nash, because she's going to be introducing Dr. Kimbrough. And it won't surprise you that as a science geek, I know of Kelly's work. I knew of it before coming here, and she is first and foremost a rock star scientist and teacher and mentor and faculty member. Her science is awesome, and that speaks for itself. I also will be proud to say that I specifically asked Kelly to be my mace bearer for my inauguration, and she carried that mace all that day, and that sucker weighs a lot. You know, Game of Thrones has nothing on Kelly. It was a marvelous and impressive day, and Kelly, I've always wanted to thank you again for your service that day to the institution, so thank you for that. Kelly's been named a 40 under 40 honoree by the San Antonio Business Journal. Last year, she received UTSA's President's Distinguished Diversity Award, and especially, she's an alum of Dillard University. So she is one of those very proud alums. Many, if you go look on the Wikipedia list, it's an awesome list of individuals who have graduated from Dr. Kimbrough's institution. So Dr. Kimbrough, you're going to be very proud of Dr. Nash when you hear from her. And we're proud of you, Kelly, and we want to have you come up and introduce Dr. Kimbrough. So please welcome Dr. Nash.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I am, as Dr. Amy said, a Dillard University class of 2000 graduate. I am also proud to be a 2009 graduate of UTSA, and so it's with great pleasure that I get to serve, I guess, 2 roles here in introducing our Martin Luther King Jr. lecturer, Dr. Walter Kimbrough. So just a little bit about Dr. Kimbrough. He graduated from Benjamin Mays High School in Atlanta, Georgia, where he was the class of 1985 salutatorian, as well as serving as the student body president. He earned a bachelor's and a master's degree from University of Georgia and Miami University of Ohio, respectively, and holds a doctorate degree in higher education from Georgia State University. He has enjoyed a very fulfilling career, and so I think it was noted earlier, he came up through the ranks of student affairs, and serving in that role, in various roles in student affairs at Emory University, Georgia State University, and Old Dominion University. And it was in 2000 that he became the vice president for student affairs at the age of only 32 at Albany State University in Georgia. In 2004, he became the president of the 12th president of Philander Smith College. And by 2012, he was named the 7th president of Dillard University in New Orleans. So you could tell that his roots have remained strong in student affairs. And I have to tell you, I have a niece that graduated last year from Dillard. And so I remember countless hours of hearing from her on the phone about all of the things that Dr. Kimbrough was doing on campus. And that included having lunch and listening sessions with freshmen, all the way through his wonderful brain food series, which he established in 2013. And this series is very interesting. It's designed to build a closer relationship between the students and the community, and to elevate the awareness of the university throughout the nation. And so the program has brought a myriad of speakers that, quote, feed the intellectual diet of the students and the community. Outside of his academic leadership, Dr. Kimbrough has been recognized as a researcher and has many writings on HBCUs as well as African American men in college. He has recently emerged as a leader of one of the leaders in discussing free speech on college campuses. And notably, he has been recognized, as Dr. Amy said, for his social media presence. And so he has been named and listed by bachelorsdegree.org as one of 25 college presidents you should follow on Twitter, as well as Education Dive as one of the 10 presidents on Twitter who are doing it right. And so I encourage you, if you don't follow him on Twitter, it's easy to find him because everybody calls him the hip hop prez with a Z. I encourage you, please take a look at his Twitter feed. He is also listed as one of the 20 most interesting college presidents, and he has authored the book Follow the Leader, Lessons in Social Media Success for Higher Ed CEOs. In addition to all of this work in the academy, Dr. Kimbrough is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And he was initiated in 1986 at the Zeta Pi chapter at University of Georgia. He has been named Brother of the Year through that organization, as well as served as the Southern Region Assistant Vice President. It's based on this experience that he has also built a national reputation as an expert on fraternities and sororities, with a specific expertise in Black, Latin, and Asian groups. He authored the book Black Greek 101, The Culture, Customs, and Challenges of Black Fraternities and Sororities. And through that experience, he has served as an expert witness in a number of hazing cases. So numerous additional honors, including the 1994 New Professional of the Year for the Association of Fraternity Advisors. And he has also been made the coveted list of the Ebony Magazine Power 100 of the doers and influencers in the African American community. In 2014, Dr. Kimbrough was named HBCU President of the Year. And of course, no man stands alone. He has a wonderful wife who is attorney Adria Nobles Kimbrough, who also serves as director of the Dillard University Pre-Law Program. And the two of them are proud parents of two children, Lydia Nicole, who's 12, as well as Benjamin Barack, who's 10 years old. And so you all can do some addition, and you know his name is Barack, and 10 years ago we know who ascended to the presidency. And so I want us to give us a wonderful welcome to Dr. Kimbrough as our lecturer for today.
Good afternoon. Y'all actually did pretty good, but I'll still say it one more time. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here, President Amy and the UTSA leaders, to Carla for having me. Carla heard me speak at St. Paul United Methodist Church, and the pastors are here, so I want to thank them for being here today. To our Dillard alumna, Kelly Nash, let me just add in this historical fact so y'all can appreciate her, because she is on loan to you. I'm dead serious. She's on loan. At some point in time, she's got to come home. I'm just telling you now. There was a study that came out a couple of years ago that in the history of our country, there had only been about 70 African-American women who've earned a PhD in physics. 5 of those 70 went to Dillard. So she's one of those. So I'm just letting the president know the loan is about over, okay? But I'm glad to be here today. And so I want to just jump right in and give you an address. They were asking me and pushing me to say, well, what's the title of your speech? And I don't like to give a title because, well, one thing, it might change over the course of time. But I like you to just sort of hear it for the first time to sort of get your mind centered as to where is this guy going with this? So for today, you have somewhat of an idea. But I'm going to use as a title, who's going to pay for the wall? Who's going to pay for the wall? The King holiday is very important to me. I'm a native of Atlanta. Maybe it's because of his mentor, Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, who was a president of Morehouse College from 1940 to 1967, the person I consider to be the greatest college president ever. My son's first name is Benjamin because of Benjamin Elijah Mays. You heard Barack because he was born on November 4th, 2008 at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, this dude is going to win. We got to put it in there. So that's how he's the first baby in the country that had Barack as a part of his name because of that. So maybe I'm fascinated because of Dr. Mays or being in Atlanta and knowing those civil rights legends and having a chance to experience them. But sometimes I get frustrated because it seems like every year at this time, we give the same couple of analyses of the same couple of speeches. And maybe some of this is just personal. When I was in high school in Atlanta, we had an Elks Oratorical contest. And at my high school, which is Benjamin Mays High School, ironically, I competed in my senior year. My mom was one of the judges, and she scored me so low I almost lost. Because the other 2 judges, I'm going to come back to my mom in a minute. The other 2 judges gave me perfect scores, but she was feeling some kind of way because she scored me really low and almost lost. So I'm not going to let that go. I'm still upset about that. But I won at school, and I competed at the city level, and I came in 3rd. And my speech was about black athletes, mega bucks, but micro knowledge, and how we weren't valuing the education of athletes. But the little boy that won in his little tight white suit tried to act like he was Martin Luther King, and he talked about the dream. And everybody got excited about that. And a woman sitting behind my mom leaned over. She was like, your boy, he was real good, but he didn't talk about the dream. So I don't talk about the dream now because I'm still mad because I should have won that contest then. That's just a problem for me. So every year I try to spend, because I usually have at least one opportunity to give a speech about King. And so I try to go into a different way for us to consider King. Last year I focused on the last year of his life because he was assassinated 50 years ago, 1968. So that was an appropriate time to look at that. Tavis Smiley has a great book about the last year of his life, which I encourage people to read because people have this idea of King today as someone that everybody loved, but you'll read about that last year and it was not like that. So I focused on that year. In 2017, I turned 50, which was also the 50th year of his book, Where Do We Go From Here? So I focused on that and read the book and have an analysis of that. So I'm thinking this year, well, what am I going to talk about for King? What's out there? You know, it's really interesting when you start thinking about it. I'm just all over the place. And I was thinking about last year, the word of the year. Merriam-Webster every year has a word of the year. Last year, the word was justice, which is a good word for King. And I was thinking, like, if they were to do a word of the year for 2019 right now, what would that word be? And there was only one word that came to my mind. Wall. It's the word I hear every day, all day, multiple times a day. And so then I said, man, what did Dr. King say about walls, since we talk about them so much today? My study then led me to 55 years ago, in September of 19 64, where he gave 2 sermons where he mentioned walls. The sermon was entitled East or West, God's Children. And at the beginning of it, he says, I bring you greetings from your Christian brothers and sisters of the United States. In a real sense, we are all one in Christ Jesus, for in Christ there is no east, no west, no north, no south, but one great fellowship of love throughout the whole wide world. King was in Germany, September 13th, 1964, 3 years after they began building the historic Berlin Wall, which separated a city and nations. It was constructed by the East Germans to prevent people from leaving that communist country. And it was interesting too, because he spoke first in West Berlin, and the United States State Department didn't want him to go to East Berlin. They took his passport. He used his American Express card, and the East Germans let him in. And that's how he was able. So in West Germany, he gave a speech to 20,000 people. Smaller venue in East Germany, but gave the same sermon about what was happening there. And so I started to think, well, what really happens when we erect walls? How does that impact our search for meaning, for connectedness, for love? How much do walls cost? And who pays the price? I want to argue today for a few minutes that all of us pay for walls. It costs us our agency, our humanity, and our divinity. I'm a Methodist preacher's kid, Pastor Emerson. I got 3 points, and I'm gonna sit down. Agency, humanity, and divinity. So first of all, it costs us our agency or accountability. 2019 is the 50th anniversary of this institution. It's the 150th anniversary of Dillard University. And in 1959, 60 years ago, Dr. King was our baccalaureate speaker. His sermon was The Dimensions of a Complete Life. And so I'm going to take the broader context of him being in Berlin talking about walls, and now I'm going to layer another speech in there. So now you got 2 speeches to go find out about. And he gave this sermon The Dimensions of a Complete Life several places. So he uses for the baccalaureate address, and he says there are 3 dimensions of a complete life, the first being length. He says in this sermon, let's turn to the moment, to the length of life. I said that this is the dimension of life where we are concerned with developing our inner powers. There is such a thing as a rational and healthy self-interest. A great Jewish rabbi, the late Joshua Liebman, wrote a book some years ago entitled Peace of Mind. And he has a chapter in that book entitled Love Thyself Properly. And what he says in that chapter in substance is that before you can love other selves adequately, you've got to love your own self properly. Agency then is the capacity or the condition or state of acting. And I would argue that walls restrict or reduce our ability to develop this important skill. So in America, unfortunately, some think that we need walls to protect us from brown brothers and sisters crossing the southern border, bringing fewer drugs in than are coming from the northern border, and committing crimes at a rate far less than U.S. citizens. But we're still concerned about having a wall to prevent them from coming. And if I think about it, and if we really in this country feel like we need physical barriers to prevent certain things, I got a great suggestion as to where we need some walls. Because I could make the case, yes, we need walls, and I'm going to tell you where we need the walls. We need them around McDonald's and Burger King and Chick-fil-A and Pizza Hut and Domino's and Rally's and Whataburger and Taco Bell and churches. That's where we need walls. My wife and I, we were in Atlanta, and we were having some different conversations with people, and they talked about this woman called the Vitamin Lady who, based on your blood type, sort of prescribes a healthy diet for you. And part of it is you tell her your blood type, and they give you this list. And my wife didn't know her blood type, and she was like, do you know your blood type? I was like, yeah, it's Popeyes. Spicy. That's my blood type. It's not A positive. It's Popeyes spicy. Drugs from Mexico aren't our biggest problem. Obesity from fast food is. The drug of most concern is not opium, it's sugar. MS-13 isn't killing you. It's Ronald McDonald and them damn Chick-fil-A cows. That's who's killing us. Remember the movie that came out by Morgan Spurlock, Super Size Me? And it's just true. If I'm traveling in the airport and I just want like some M&Ms, just a little sugar hit, they don't even sell like the regular small packets. They give you the share size packets of M&Ms. I'm like, I'm traveling by myself. I just want one little packet. And so if I buy the other one, I don't have anybody to share it with, so I'm eating the whole thing. Or at night when sugar is a drug. So there'll be some times I work out every day. I worked out last night. We had a nice big dinner. I went to the hotel. I worked out. I got up this morning. I worked out. And I know I have to because there are times at home when I work out at night and I'll tell my wife, all right, I'll be back. I'm going to make a run. Because Popeye sells a 44-ounce sweet tea, cane sweet tea. And I go get that sweet tea. 44 ounces at night. When I'm not having that, the sugar and the caffeine, every year for Lent, I give it up. The first couple of days I have to have aspirin because my head hurts so bad. Because that caffeine and sugar, they're drugs. And we don't think about it like that. But let's put it in a broader context. The United Health Foundation's report in 2018 said 1 in 3 Americans are obese, the leading cause for cardiovascular disease and cancer. In 2015, there were 257 cardiovascular deaths per 100,000 Americans. There are only 17 drug deaths per 100,000. 257. Based on healthy states, Texas, you are number 37. I live in Louisiana, and we're number 50. And the problem even on top of that is that as a nation now, we have even weaponized obesity. Very recently, within the last couple of weeks, the Rudd Center for Food Policy and Obesity at UConn said in 2017, 86% of food advertising on Black targeted TV programming went to fast food, candy, unhealthy snacks, and sugary drinks. And 82% of food advertising on Spanish language TV. Fast food, candy, unhealthy snacks, and sugary drinks. We can't wall off everything. So we've got to develop agency. And if we don't develop agency, we'll pay for it with our lives. So there is a cost. That's point number one. Y'all still with me? Point number one. Point number two, walls cost us our humanity. King said the next dimension is breath. He said, now the breath of life is the outward concern for the welfare of others. And a man has not begun to live until he can rise above the narrow confines of his own individual concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. You know, sometimes it's unfortunate is that when people sort of rise up and they get some status and they get some money and fame, they feel like they're better than everybody else. Like one of my favorite movies is with Martin Lawrence. It's called Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins. And he starts off, y'all seen it, little country boy, and he goes out to LA and got this TV show. So he's not Roscoe anymore, he's RJ. So he's RJ and he comes back home and they look at him like, boy, you Roscoe. And so you got to have this whole bringing him back down to be like, yeah, you've done these things, but we your people. You from here. You need to embrace that and not act like you all and his girlfriend Bianca is hyping him up and all that. So, I mean, they play it all the time. You know how they do on TNT. They play stuff over and over again a million times. So you should watch it at some time if you haven't seen it. But think about it. When Dr. King was killed in Memphis, he was working with the sanitation workers. This is Martin Luther King Jr., PhD, Boston University. Morehouse man, Nobel Peace Prize winner with the garbage men. That's where he found himself. And sometimes when we build these invisible walls based on our status or with distance, when our education and income allows, it allows us to start avoiding people that we think are beneath us. And we are losing our humanity. And we have to have experiences where people help bring us back to earth. Talked about my mother earlier. My father's a retired United Methodist minister. Well, he's retired like 3 times. He swears last time. But he had big churches in Atlanta, 7,000 members, so I'm a mega church kid. My mom taught religion and philosophy at Clark Atlanta University, historically black institution, after she worked in computer software industry. And so because she taught at Clark, like Dillard, has lots of students from out of state that can't go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they're looking for a place to hang out for Thanksgiving. At Dillard, we always have Dillard students at our house who can't go home, 15, 20, 25. They eat up everything, which just really upsets me because it's like, you expect to have some turkey on the next day, that Friday. And my wife is like, make sure you get the real heavy, plasticware so they can take all the food home. And I'm just like, that means there's nothing left for the next day. So we understand, but I grew up like that. There were students who were always at the house, and I was in college at the University of Georgia. And I remember one year I came home, and my mom was telling us about the students who were coming. There's one guy named David from LA. David's like the third brother in the house, because he was with us every year. One of her students from Los Angeles. But she said, I got this young lady coming. I'm excited she's coming to dinner. She has to work. It's really hard for her. She works as an ecdesiast, and she just stays busy. And I want her to do well. I want to support her. And I was like, Mom, wait now. I don't know if she needs to come to the house. She's working as an ecdesiast, and I don't know if she needs to. Y'all know what ecdesiast is? Let me help you. Have any of y'all been to the ballet? You know what the ballet is, right? So maybe you think about it as like urban ballet. So like when you go to the ballet, the ballerinas are wearing tutus, and at the urban ballet, it's fabric free. I mean, when you go to the ballet, people like Baryshnikov and Misty Copeland at the urban ballet, they're named after cars and food. And I mean, the ballet is like at the Kennedy Center, and the urban ballet is at like Magic City and Blue Flame. If you've seen Killer Mike's trigger warnings, he talks about the Blue Flame in Atlanta. They're going to get lots of business during Super Bowl weekend because everybody's going to the urban ballet. They're not going to the game. They're going to the Blue Flame, okay? So I've heard about it, okay? Being from Atlanta, all right? Y'all get it now? So my mom reads me the riot act, and she was like, oh, so you think you better than people now? And I mean, she made me feel so bad about it. And when I had time to think about it, I'm like, this student tells her religion teacher that she's an urban ballerina. Think about it for us, for faculty members. Do we create the kind of space, and President Amy talked about this, do we create the kind of space that a student can just share everything they have with you and expect no judgment? Because it's powerful. You're talking about religion, and you're talking about somebody who's dancing in Atlanta with no clothes on, telling their professor, this is what I do. And the professor's like, baby, come to the house. Would your students even be willing to even have that conversation with you? Or have you gotten so big, I got a PhD, I'm the professor, you can't come? It's very powerful. It took me a while to get there because afterwards, she's fussing at me, and I'm telling my fraternity brothers, I'm like, man, my mama got this girl coming to the house. They like, can we come? I was like, man, y'all stop, okay? King was preaching about this dimension, and he talks about the story of the Good Samaritan, and he goes on by saying, there will be a day when the question won't be, how many awards did I get in life? It won't be how popular were you in your social setting. It will not ask how many degrees you've been able to get. He said it won't be concerned with whether you're a PhD or a no D. It won't be concerned whether you went to Morehouse or no house. The question that day will not be how much money did you accumulate. The question that day will not be what kind of automobile did you have. On that day, the question will be, what did you do for others? Walls cost us our humanity and the right answer to this question. Finally, walls cost us our divinity. King describes that third dimension, and he says, but I say to you this morning that in life, if life is to be complete, the individual must reach up beyond his self-interest. The individual must reach up beyond humanity and reach up high enough to discover God. 1964, King is in Berlin, preaching to West Berlin and East Berlin. And in that sermon, he says, may I say that it is indeed an honor to be in this city, which stands as a symbol of the divisions of men on the face of the earth. For here on either side of the wall are God's children, and no man-made barrier can obliterate that fact. Whether it be east or west, men and women search for meaning, hope for fulfillment, yearn for faith in something beyond themselves, and cry desperately for love and community to support them in this pilgrim journey. We're not simply failing to recognize our shared humanity today. We're demonizing each other. We're refusing to see the God in them. So today we use language as a foundation for a proposed physical wall with brown Spanish speakers. And the foundation is being built by calling these children of God animals, an infestation, an invasion, rapists, murderers. If you look at the official White House fact sheet dated May 21st, 2018, the title of it is What You Need to Know About the Violent Animals of MS-13. But here's the truth. MS-13 was started in the United States. Currently has between 6,000 and 10,000 members out of 1.4 million gang members in the United States. Or for the mathematicians, that's 0.7% of all gang members. And while no clear stats exist, it is estimated that they commit no more than 35 murders a year. In New Orleans last year, we had 129, just in my city alone. And so while we've had this laser focus on others, this culture of demonization is costing us. Murders in this city declined by 14% last year, reflecting a nationwide trend, but it's still listed as one of the top 40 dangerous cities in America. Texas is number 9 in domestic violence. Roughly 1 in 3 Texas residents will experience domestic violence at some point in their lifetime, according to the Texas Council on Family Violence. We're not talking about that. As I said, in New Orleans, we had 129 murders last year. All but 6 of the people who were killed last year were black. And MS-13 didn't kill none of them. But we're not having that conversation. And so sometimes it's hard for us to have those conversations when the other that is doing this looks like us. I remember after I had been at Dillard for 3 months, the chief of police came to my office on October 1st, 2012. He had this look. He said, "Doc, we had a student that got killed last night." And he started going around explaining the situation. She was off campus with this boyfriend, and somebody came to the house and just sprayed it up. And both of them got hit, but she died. She was a freshman. And he's going on, and I was like, "Chief, what was her name?" Now, it'd been crazy. And we only have 1,300 students, but I had been there for 3 months. I probably shouldn't have known her name, but there was something in my spirit that was like, "You know this girl." And he said, "Her name is Marguerite Washington." My church member, whose mom is a Dillard alum, somebody that I knew well because I saw her at First Grace United Methodist Church every week. Wasn't that outrage? People didn't get all up in arms about that. And when those kinds of things happen, we just sort of sit back silently. And that's just a problem we have, that we like to demonize other people. But when we're doing the same things, we just sit silent. And we're dehumanizing those folks. So it's something for us to think about. I think then about King's mentor, Mays, who wrote a great book in the 60s called Disturbed About Man. And in that book, he says plainly, "So I am not disturbed about God, and I am not disturbed about the devil. But I am disturbed, I am uneasy about man. Potentially honest, potentially dishonest, potentially forgiving, potentially revengeful, potentially truthful, potentially a liar, potentially capable of rising to the divinity of God, capable also of descending to the level of the devil, potentially capable of building a kingdom of heaven on earth, capable also of building a kingdom of hell on earth. This is you, and this is me." We lose our connection to a higher power when we refuse to see the divine in others, and that too is a cost. So here we are. We're still having conversations about walls. We're waiting for those rallies to commence again where we will chant, build the wall, build the wall. And when we're asked who will pay for the wall, in unison, people will yell out Mexico. Our infatuation with walls isn't proof that as a nation, we have a heightened concern for our safety. It is proof that we are losing our agency, our humanity, and our divinity, our faith. And so as we continue to commemorate the life of Martin Luther King Jr., we should commit to develop complete lives where we reclaim agency, develop a new level of discipline for our own habits and how we live our lives, where we embrace humanity, seek to engage people who are different from us, and make sure that we are welcoming enough that folks who are different from us feel like they can engage us, where we seek divinity, building a kingdom of heaven on earth. King finished that sermon in Berlin by saying, with this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of the nations into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to suffer together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. One of my favorite people is former Mexican President Vicente Fox, who has unapologetically said over and over again that Mexico is not going to pay for that expletive wall. You got to listen to him say it. It's just, he says it with a little punch to it that I love every time he says it. If we develop these dimensions of life, we won't have to pay for walls either, because we won't be building. Instead, we'll be investing in bridges.
Dr. Kimbrough, may we have you back again?
Dr. Kimbrough, everybody get in here, we're building a bridge. I'm going to go on this side and pass it across. Dr. Kimbrough, we want to give you this as our recognition for your being here and sharing your words of wisdom with us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kimbrough. I'm going to ask L.T. Robinson to come up and talk to you about our UTSA MLK scholarship. Let me give you some background information. The UTSA MLK scholarship has been given for the last 4 years to a high school senior that indicates when they apply for the Bexar County MLK scholarship that they are interested in the University of Texas at San Antonio. The scholarship has been a $2,000 scholarship where we want that student to be ignited to join our family here at UTSA and just do a good job, scholarship-wise, academic, and as a part of our social justice community.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks. It's my honor to introduce to you this year's award recipient for the Dr. King Scholarship Award. Genesis Kogel is a first-year kinesiology major and psychology minor here from San Antonio. She's a proud member of Chi Alpha Campus Ministries, and she is exploring a career in health professions, either as a surgeon or as a pediatrician. Please join me in congratulating Genesis Kogel for the MLK Scholarship here at UTSA.
Congratulations. Hello. My name is Genesis Kogel, and I'm the 2018 Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship winner. First, I would like to acknowledge how privileging it is to be able to stand here and say that to you guys. It's an honor to be able to represent the MLK Scholarship for UTSA. This year, God has blessed me beyond my imagination, and today has just added on to it. I've always known at a very young age that I wanted the most out of life, and knowing that my family wasn't going to be able to fulfill every dream I had, I knew hard work was important. Accepting this scholarship allowed a foundation to be made to help me achieve the goals I've always been determined to accomplish, as well as relieving the stress of financial responsibility off of my family's shoulders and mine. Being here at UTSA has greatly empowered my drive to success and has enabled me to flourish into the person I want to become, and exposed me to great education and interest of my own choosing. The opportunity to be here as a roadrunner has strengthened my ambitions and hard work towards a prosperous life. This is the beginning to an exciting and godly chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Genesis. We are currently still taking applications for our 2019 winner. And upon receipt of all of the applications, the students are applying via Bexar County. There's a scholarship committee that will then review the scholarships, and we will have our 2019 UTSA MLK scholarship winner. I would like to now ask Dr. Myron Anderson, our new Vice President of Inclusive Excellence, to please join us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So first of all, isn't it a great day to be a roadrunner? I would say that always. I was a roadrunner at my other institution, and I'm a roadrunner now, and I'm excited about that, being here and finishing my third week on campus. I know I stand between the group here and the reception, so I will not be long. But I do want to first of all thank Dr. Kimbrough. Awesome words. Everybody that put their work in together to make this program successful, yes. And I think it's important as an institution for programs to take place and to really challenge us intellectually, to have us come together and see and discuss issues that may be positive, maybe negative, or will allow us to become better ourselves, especially in the diversity inclusion space, but more importantly into the social justice space throughout the institution. So this is an important part of the ethos of the institution. Dr. Kimbrough talked about walls, and of course I got to relate this as I'm learning and listening from you to the work that I do in inclusive excellence and diversity and inclusion. And I saw some relationships, and I'm sure many of you saw relationships in the spaces that you work in. And so when you said walls, I said, what are the walls on campus? What are the walls at the institution that we need to look at? So I'm going to speak globally. Some of these things may relate to UTSA. I know they may relate to other campuses across the country. But it really comes down to, we have walls, we need to remove those walls, and how do we do that? And cultural intelligence is one way to remove walls. The walls that are within an institution, within a campus community, they can be removed by understanding culture and understanding where people are coming from. So I think that's one piece. Unrest community you talked about, the teaching, the engaging in the classroom, that remind me of cultural responsive teaching and how we can understand that when we're developing of our curriculum, and how we can have that relationship with our students that can create that environment in the classroom that is welcoming and exciting and wanting, and learning is taking place. And then the adverse impact piece about how some of these things have a negative impact, if you will, on the community and the environment or the people within. And that really came back to my overall philosophy of inclusive excellence and how that philosophy can adapt, can remove this adverse impact and break down walls and really create an opportunity where it's a welcoming environment for all. So those are some of the things that I thought about. I want to thank you for stimulating my mind and get me thinking correctly and directly, and I will use that knowledge and information to help as I learn from this community to see how we can promote that environment. And the last thing I'll say is I'll challenge the group, because we came here to see a speech and we got challenged and we heard some good information, but I've always been taught, lift while you climb. Has anybody ever heard that before? Lifting while you climb. And so what we need to do is take this information and this data and this learning and our spirit and our excitement and our energy, and not only just climb, but let's take somebody with us. and let's take somebody with us as we climb, so we can really make the place better for all in regards to this diversity, inclusion, space, and goals and objectives. Thank you very much. Thank everybody for being here. I welcome you to the event and the reception, and I'm so happy to be at UTSA. And everybody, always remember, it's a great day to be a Roadrunner. Thank you.